Who's to blame? Tank Davis or the WBA? We answer that next. Please like and subscribe. Help us hit 10,000 subscribers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Friday Check Hook. I want to preface today's show with this. I like Tank Davis. I really do. I was never one to say that he was the next Adrian Broner, or that he was a bust, or that he was a lazy waste of talent, or anything like that. I'm a fan of Tank. I think he's uniquely talented. I think he has amazing skills, and I think he's wasting those skills away. Just remember that if it appears that I'm ripping Tank Davis through this, I'm not. I'm actually a big fan of Tank. I really am. But let's get started, shall we? Gervonta Tank Davis, the 24-year-old two-time super featherweight champ with the all-world talent, has his next fight scheduled and confirmed. It will be a homecoming in Baltimore on July 27th against none other than Ricardo Nunez. Okay, all right. Who's excited? Of course, absolutely no one. I'm always excited to watch Tank fight. Like I said, I think he's a tremendous talent. I think he's a really good fighter. I think he's got unique skills. But this fight is, again, not good. But let's look at it. Nunez is 25 years old. He has a record of 21-2 with 19 knockouts. So, 19 knockouts in 21 fights and 21 wins in 23 fights suggests he has some pop. But his resume is whack. I mean, it's whack. There's nothing on it. I mean, nothing at all. In his last outing, he beat a fellow called Eduardo Pacheco, no relation to the fight doctor, who has a record of 22-30. Nunez has put together 10 straight wins, 10 consecutive wins, since his knockout loss to a fellow named Barney Arguelles, a fight which he was stopped in the second round. He also has a loss to a fighter called Simone Sirius. Nunez lost that fight via DQ due to low excessive. Those are his two losses. And he's got no wins of note. Absolutely not. He's beaten nobody. He has no major wins, no wins of note. He didn't win an eliminator. And he's somehow getting a title shot out of the clear blue sky. He's ranked number 2, despite beating no one, and is getting mandated this mandatory shot, despite having never won an eliminator or beating anyone ranked. How does that happen? We had this conversation with Ocampo. How does this happen? How does a guy like this? And not to mention, you want to know who's ranked number 1? Rene Alvarado. And Rene Alvarado, who's ranked 1, is getting skipped over despite having a couple of wins of note. He has wins over guys like Carlos Morales, Dan Shafikov, solid victories, right? He wouldn't be the first name I'd want to put in the ring with Tank. He's not the first guy I'd pick to fight Tank for a world title. But, he's a veteran. He's a good fighter. He's got quality wins. It would be like Anthony Crawler getting a title shot against Loma. You can't knock it that much. There's better names, but he's earned a shot. This seems odd and suspicious that he would get skipped over for someone who has done absolutely nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. Alvarado's a game fighter. He's top 10, 130 pounder. I get 130. It's not the most stacked division. Against Shafikov and Morales, good wins. The guy, Ricardo Nunez, who no one's ever heard of, who has only fought outside of Panama once in his whole career, and that was in Mexico, who has beaten no one of note, who's never won an eliminator, is getting this title shot over Rene Alvarado, is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, who do you want to blame for this? I guess you have to blame the WBA. Why would the WBA come out now and mandate this fight? It makes no sense at all. It makes no sense. Right? The WBA doesn't mandate anyone. They didn't mandate Keith Thurman fight anyone. Keith Thurman quit for 2 years and then fought Jose Lopez. They still haven't mandated him fight anybody. So, what gives here? Right? And we also know that unifications take precedence over mandatories. So why didn't Tank want to unify? Why wouldn't he fight Tevin Farmer? Or Burchell? Why would he try to make one of those fights? Why? I mean, so who do you want to blame for this? There's two options. We can blame the WBA, who's absolutely at fault. Right? The WBA is 100% to blame for making this ridiculous mandatory, but you have to wonder why. Why is this guy's mandatory being called? And I am into conspiracy theories. I'm not gonna say I'm not. Do you think there's someone else behind this pushing the buttons to get his number called ahead of Alvarado? Like, why would Alvarado get the mandatory call? He's number one. You know, I'm not saying Mayweather Promotions or Al Heyman or anything like that is behind this, but they could be. This seems really, really weird that some guy who only fought out of Panama once, fought in Mexico, who's got 2 losses, who's never beat anybody, is getting a mandatory shot. And what's amazing is that he's even ranked number 2. Let's take a look back at the recent run by Gervonta Tank Davis. Tank blew out the sniper, Jose Pedraza, via 7th round TKO to capture the IBF super featherweight title back in January of 2017. 4 months later, he made his initial defense by blowing out the undefeated Liam Walsh. Liam Walsh, good fighter, decent prospect, whatever. Maybe a top 20 guy at 130. Yeah, it's for an initial title defense, it's not the end of the world. Then a couple months after that, he beat Francisco Fonseca on the Mayweather-McGregor undercard, a fight in which he surrendered his title, the IBF 130-pound belt, on the scale, and gave a lackluster performance that ended in an 8th round TKO, controversial TKO that looked like a clearly to be a shot on the back of Fonseca's head. That began the downward trend, the downward spiral. After that fight against Fonseca, he took the longest period of inactivity in his career. Came back, fought a 126-pounder, Jesus Cuellar, who had just been demolished by Abner Mares. That was in April of last year. Then took another 10-month layoff and fought 122-pounder, legitimate 122-pounder, Hugo Ruiz. He blew both those guys out, Cuellar and Ruiz. He fought Ruiz early this year, February of this year. I got 2 blowout victories over a 126-pounder and a 122-pounder. I mean, look, that Pedraza fight seems like 8th in history. That's like 2.5 years ago. And he's fought no one since. I mean, look at the names: Liam Walsh, Francisco Fonseca, Cuellar, and Ruiz. That's ridiculous. Tevin Farmer's level of competition has been great, but he fights every few months. This is insane. These guys aren't even at the same weight class. These last 2 guys aren't even at the same weight class. Now he's fighting Ricardo Nunez, and yeah, you're gonna say, okay, well, the Nunez fight is mandated. Well, unification fights take precedence over mandatory. So why didn't you fight Tevin Farmer? Go out and fight Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer wants the fight. He's been calling you out. Go fight Tevin Farmer. You want to fight Tevin Farmer. So that raises another question. Who's really behind the career of Tank Davis? Tank Davis says he wants to fight Tevin Farmer. Let's make that fight. Tevin Farmer wants that fight. What Eddie Hearn said he wanted that fight for Tevin Farmer. So what's really holding this fight back? I don't think it's Tank. I think it's the strings behind Tank. Who's really controlling his career? And then this mandatory getting called out of nowhere. It's just weird. This date, this July 27th date in Baltimore, he had schedules. He had this thing scheduled for a while. Now all of a sudden, WBA out of the clear blue sky calls his mandatory. A guy who's ranked number 2, who's beaten nobody. Tell me if this sounds normal to you. Does any of that seem realistic to you? All of that seems suspect to me. So let me know, who do you guys blame for this? Do you blame Tank Davis? Do you blame the WBA? Do you blame Al Heyman, Mayweather Promotions? I mean, this is getting silly with this guy. He hasn't fought a top 20 guy in his own weight class in 2.5 years. Now he's fighting a guy with no credentials as his mandatory. Why? The WBA doesn't mandate anyone fight anyone. They just make new titles. And this guy hasn't won an eliminator. He hasn't been in this position. He just got put in this position, and then gets his mandatory called. Why? Like, why Nunez? Why not any of their other number 1? He's not even a number 1 contender. He's a number 2 contender. They skipped over the number 1 guy. Explain this. Why would the WBA do this? Unless there's something else going on here. This is another black eye for Tank. And maybe it's his fault. Maybe it's not. I can't say if it is or it isn't. I don't know everything that goes behind this. But he has fought no one since Pedraza. And that Pedraza one looks even better in retrospect after you saw how Pedraza did. against Beltran, winning a title at 135, and then winning rounds against Loma. He won no rounds against Tank. He got blown out and demolished by Tank. And they beat Wallace, which was 2 years ago. And Wallace is just, so contender, so prospect. Hey, at least Ricardo Nunez is a legit 130-pounder. He's a 130-pounder. He's not a little dude. He's someone his own size. But is he any good? He has no credentials. Why can't Tank fight a legitimate 130-pounder? Who do y'all blame for this? What should Tank do next? Does he need to tune up? And I mean this in all seriousness. Does Tank need to take a step-up fight? Because he's fought no one for 2.5 years now. Does he need to fight someone good? At his own size? Does he need to fight a good fighter at his own size before he steps up and takes on the elite fighters? Whether that be Loma, Petrell, Gary Russell, maybe Tevin Farmer, whoever. Does he need to fight someone at an intermediate level? Because he's fighting low-level guys. And to throw him in the ring, one of those names, one of those 4 guys I just named, it would not be a good look. Because you're basically coming in cold for those fights because you fought nobody. And again, I like Tank Davis. Tank Davis needs to take a fight or two. Fight Gamboa. I would take a Gamboa fight at this point. But fight someone at your own size who's good, who has a pulse. That's some guy who's 21-2, who's never fought outside of Panama with 2 losses, who's just be a guy who's 22-30. Please like and subscribe. Please share with a friend. Help us hit 10,000 subscribers. Leave us a comment for another episode of Friday Check Hook. From Texas to the world, this is 3D Boxing saying thank you and God bless.
Enjoy 3D Boxing vlog videos? Show us some love by clicking the like button. Don't miss a tweet, post, story, or video. 3dboxingvlog.com is also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hit the subscribe button now to stay inside the ring.